Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Chris again. Surprisingly, we're not talking about Slicer Purse Edition. We're actually going to be talking about Octoprint. So you're probably sitting there going like, oh man, I know what Octoprint is. Or if you're the person that's sitting over there going, I don't know what Octoprint is, could you please tell me? This is for you. But yeah, we're going to talk about Octoprint. Basically, this is a way to interface with your printer via the web. You can log in. There's apps like Octopod. You can go to the browser, you can log right in, and you can play around with your printer. You can view webcam, you can store time lapses. You can have it send notifications to your phone when prints finish. And basically, it's an awesome way to monitor your printing via using using a Raspberry Pi and this amazing software, which is free, 100% open source. And please support them because that keeps it open source. So thank you, Gina. But yeah, we're gonna go through setting it up. There are a few changes specifically for the Raspberry Pi Model 3 B Plus. So there's a change compared to the old B. It's not that old, but the previous B and the other previous model. So there's a little change there. So I'm gonna show you how I set it up, and it may not be the perfect way, but it works, and that's all that matters because working is good. So first step, we have Octoprint. We need to download it, and I've already done that. So basically, head to octoprint.org, scroll a little bit. If your window's not this big, or if it's bigger, it's right here. It's a big green button that says download. Download it. I've already done that magic. The other thing you're going to need is you're going to need a way to burn the image file, because that's what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with an image file. That way you can burn that, and you have a nice boot drive, and all these fancy technical terms basically mean that you can copy some files over to a micro SD card, plug it into your Raspberry Pi Model B, Raspberry Pi 3 Model B Plus, and it runs. It does all the work. So you need a way to do that. The easiest way that works for not only Mac, but for Windows PC and of course Linux is to use Etcher by Balena. So again, open source project. It's amazing. It's free. It works for the three main computer operating systems that everybody uses. So, I mean, if you have something different than Mac OS, auto detected, because it's amazing. I already downloaded this as well. I will put links in the description, of course. And the way I set mine up is I use a Logitech HD C270 camera, $20 webcam, onboard decoding, so that way the Pi works just less to make the magic happen. So you can run it at super high quality. It's not 1080p, it's only 720p. But that does have a benefit. You can run it at full speed, and it barely makes the Pi do anything to make it run. So let's get a little bit started on this. So I've already downloaded everything. I've already got everything set up. So the first thing we have to do, of course, is head over to a fresh screen. Let's go ahead and load our micro SD card in. I normally recommend a 32. 16 will work. 8 will work. I haven't maxed out a 16 yet, but I do have a ton on one of mine, and it's about 8 gigs used. I have a lot of files on there, and I don't delete anything. So, yeah. And the good news is 32 gig Samsung SD cards are on sale currently on Amazon for, I think, $6. And memory's cheap. You never know what you're going to want to install on your Pi. So maybe there'll be something that'll be huge, and you got to have the room, and you're like, oh, why'd I get that 4 gig card from 1982? Excuse me. And well, here it is. I plugged it in. Here's my untitled little memory card doohickey. Here's my Octoprint folder. I've already put all the stuff that I need in there, which is just one thing. Now, the first thing I like to do is, even though the Etcher program that we downloaded will clear the entire memory card and wipe it and install the OS over it, I still like to format the memory card. It's just a photographer thing with me. I always format memory cards on the computer. I don't care. So we're going to go ahead and open up Disk Utility. And if I could spell correctly, and we're going to go to our generic card here, which is 16 gig, correct. We will erase that. We're going to make sure it's MS-DOS FAT, because we definitely don't want any of those other weird ones, because they won't work. The other ones will not work. And it won't take very long because it's super fast. There it is. It's done. It's deleted. It is It is a MS-DOS FAT32 untitled USB blah, blah, blah. Don't change the name. You don't need to do any of that. You don't have to write Pi or anything fancy on there. Leave it alone. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up Etcher. And there we go. So here's Etcher, super easy. Load the image. It already picked my generic SD card because it's already plugged in, and then the flash button. So over here in our Octoprint folder, the file we downloaded is this zip file. And I've already double clicked it, and inside that zip file was an image file. And this is what we need. The image file is what we're going to use to load directly onto the memory card so we can boot from it. So let's go ahead and drag this right into Etcher. Go hit the plus icon, you know, dragging and dropping is so much fun. And I already picked the memory card. You can confirm, just kind of, you can hit change and be like, is that the one you want? Well, that is the only card I have in there. It won't let me select, thankfully it won't let me select my my actual hard drive on my computer, because that'd be a bad day. And then just hit the flash button. This is gonna take about a minute on a 16 gig card. And don't forget, if you're on a Mac, you gotta confirm anything that you do to a disk. So yeah, it's just gonna flash. It's gonna do all its amazing stuff. And it's super quick. I mean, if you do a bigger card, it's going to take a little, should take the same. It's not any different. But what it's going to do is going to flash the drive with the boot, all the fancy bootness. And then afterward, it's going to confirm all that. And these are good things. This is why I like this program, because it'll also confirm that it's copied everything over. Again, it's free. It works on all the programs, that we can all be on the same page. I'd hate for us to all be doing different things and then go, Chris, it didn't work. I'm like, I don't know how to work your other thing that you got. So keeping it simple by keeping it all the same. Go ahead and close that. And then it's almost done flashing. Now, the reason we didn't rename it is because it's going to be renamed boot, and we don't want to change that name because your Pi is going to be looking for the boot drive. So you might be able to change it. I could be lying, but I like to leave it alone. I think I was told to leave it alone. I think I read the directions one time, so leave it alone. So I'm just going to tell you guys, leave it alone. Excuse me. But on that, we're basically almost done. The last steps that we're going to do here on the computer are we're going to change the network settings, and we're going to change the camera settings. And there it is. It loaded, and then it, of course, I didn't change the settings, so it also ejected it. So let me reload that drive. There it is. It already says boot. So what do we got to do now? We've already done the easy stuff. We downloaded it. We ran the flashing software. We've loaded the image file onto the boot drive, onto our micro SD card. So what do we got to do? This is really easy. This is actually pretty amazing. So let's go ahead and double click on our boot drive, and wherever that may be. And we're looking for a certain text file. And that text file is going to be Octopi WPA supplicant.txt. We're going to go and open that with text edit. And you'll actually see here, there's a warning here if you're using Windows, is do not use WordPad. It wants to use Notepad++ or whatever these other ones are, because it doesn't edit correctly. It will mangle it all up. It'll make it not work. Us Mac users, we can use text edit, but make sure we have it set to plain text format, which is the default format. So if we go to preferences, it is set to plain text. Don't use rich text. Just don't. But we just need to change a couple things. And I said that it was going to be something different. The first parts are easy. So the first thing we need to do is we need to change the SSID. So we need to find our network name. And mine is awesome. Mine is Bill Y, the Science Phi. And of course, the password is Joseph Prusa. I mean, what other password would I use? But you notice that I did it within the quotations. Do not delete the quotation. Do not delete the quotations. Don't delete the SSID part. Write it exactly where it says put it here. So leave those quotes. Same thing with the password. Leave it in the quotes. It is case sensitive on both the SSID and the password. Next, we need to unquote this. We need to remove these little pounds from the magical tool. But we also have to go to another step. So this is just for the 3B+. And we have to go all the way down here, and you can see in this section right here, uncomment the country your Pi is in to activate the Wi-Fi on the 3B+ and above. So we're going to go ahead and recomment the UK back in. I don't live in the UK. We're going to uncomment the USA. do not remove this comment. That one stays. Just remove this first comment. And that's it. We did it. That's all we need to change. This is actually the easy part. So we're going to hit File. We're going to hit Save. It's going to not say edited anymore. And then we have to edit one more file. So we're going to go ahead and close that. And we need to find a file. And I believe it's this one. I could be wrong. Yep, I was wrong. We got to find it. Where? It's not. Oh, there it is. That's the one. So we're going to open up octopi.txt. So open with, text edit. And here we are. So in the octopi text is where it hides all the camera options. And everything is commented. Every little thing is commented. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to uncomment USB. So uncomment camera USB options. And then it has -R, which stands for resolution, and -F, which is frame rate. So this is the fun thing. The Logitech C270 is 720p, which is 1280 by 720, but is not the full resolution of that camera. It's actually 1280 by 960. I know that's 3/4. I know you love your widescreens, but when we're talking about monitoring our printer, more real estate vertically is actually beneficial to us. So even though you may prefer the wide format, believe me that you will love seeing more of your print surface using the taller format. So we're going to change resolution to the full resolution format. So 1280 by 960. The frame rate, best part about having the onboard decoding, you can use the full frame rate. You can also add -Q, which is quality. And the quality can go up to 100. You can do full quality of the camera at 30 frames per second at the full resolution. And it's pretty darn good. I mean, it's not 4K. I'm sorry. But yeah, it works. It's a very nice image quality. It works well. And yeah, but that's it. I mean, that is the only thing I have to change here. We're not going to do anything else. That's the only thing. And this is specific for the Logitech C270. I will post a link in the description that has the camera USB options for other USB cameras. And then again, if you bought a Raspberry Pi cam, the Raspberry Pi cam configuration is right here. You would uncomment camera Raspberry Pi and you'd add whatever you want. And I believe the Raspberry Pi cam version 2 maxes out at I think it's 720p, but I know it's only maximum 15 frames per second at quality about 50. So a little less quality if you go to the Pi cam, because it's the actual Pi has to do all the processing. Then that's it. I mean, that's all we have to do in here. So we're going to hit save, close, and eject. And you guys are going to follow me to the installation of the Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to take the memory card out. We're going to do one of those magical computer camera magical movie fades, and it's going to teleport me to my desk where I'll be putting together a Raspberry Pi case that goes on my Mark III, and the memory card will go inside of it. And then after all that, we'll install it on the Mark III and plug it all in. Then I'll show you how to go on through the next step. So yeah, stay tuned for the next chapter in setting up your Raspberry Pi 3 B+ with Octoprint. All right, so we have left the computer. We are now on the desk. Welcome to the workbench. I finally cleared it off. So this is what we got. We have ourselves the Raspberry Pi. Here's what it looks like real close in high definition. So you got your 4 USB, some Ethernet. I run mine through Ethernet, even though I showed you guys how to do it through Wi-Fi. You got your HDMI, and over there on that side, on the right side of your screen, that's the micro SD card slot. Now, I haven't put the micro SD card in just yet because there is one more step. I do recommend purchasing a CanaKit Raspberry Pi 3B+. They include not only the 5 volt 2 amp, 2.5 amp. Yep, this is a 5 volt 2.5 amp charger. You're going to need as much power as you can get, and I believe this is the best one for the Pi. So you'll need that. It comes with that. Amazon has it just as a Pi, no memory card, heat sinks, and the charger, or I guess power supply in this case. So we're going to put on the heat sinks because these things do get warm, and they're going to go in this nice little case here that I printed. I'll put a link for the Thingiverse link where I got this bad boy. Now this is specific for the Mark III and Mark IIs and Mark 2.5. If you don't have those, you're going to have to get a different case. I bet you one of those fun websites will have that. So again, we need to put a heat sink on some things here. So once this thing focuses, you can see the main chip and these bad boy right here. Those two need heat sinks. They draw a little bit of heat. This will keep them all nice and happy. A little bit more stability when those chips are not overheating. So let's go ahead and put that on here just like that. And then remove the backing on this one. It's always fun. I'm glad I have a little bit of fingernail left. And boom. There we go. So we got that step done. It looks all pretty. Look at that. It is pretty. And all that's going to do again is going to protect from there'll be heat that builds up. Next, of course, is not installing the memory card. We need to put it in the case first. So I got this awesome case on Thingiverse. I'm rebuilding my Mark III in this gorgeous fiberlogy. There's no extra letter in there. It's literally fiberlogy. So printed this awesome case. I super digs it. Look at that beautiful case with that Prusa textured PEI sheet. It is pretty splendiferous in high def. So simplest thing, pop this bad boy right in there, put this case on top, flip it over because we need to put 4 screws in here. And I believe these are just M316s. I just grabbed them out of my extra parts bin, but screw those 4 in there. And this just press fits. Doesn't actually have any lock nuts on the other side or anything fancy like that. I'm just going to put the second one in, because I don't think you guys want to stay here while I screw all 4 of these in. But once this thing gets secure, you can pop that micro SD card in, and then you get to mount it to the printer. You're going to plug one USB cord into the Pi and one into the printer, and you're going to plug in our camera and all that fancy stuff. And I won't show you that thing. That's a little bit boring. There you go. It's in the case. Looks super good. Memory card. There's a teeny tiny slot right here where all the SD card action goes. Make sure to put in that slot. And the label is going to face upwards in this angle. Do not face it this direction. Boom. It's in there. I'll put the other 2 screws in, but other than that, it's good to go. So you will need 2 more screws to mount. These things look like M3/8. Should be long enough to fit to the frame. So don't need anything too long. Just grab your extra parts that come with your Mark III, because there's always extra parts from Prusa. And then once you've got it all hooked up, you're going to plug it in. Make sure you have an extra socket for that. So I'm going to teleport back to the computer and show you the setup process. So see you back in computer land. Welcome back to the computer. We just finished, well, I just finished hooking up the Raspberry Pi to the printer using that awesome case I downloaded from the Thingiverse. Remember, link will be in the description for that specific case. But then I plugged in the Raspberry Pi to the printer with the USB cord. I'll also post a link to the awesome, really tiny USB cord I use. I plugged in the Ethernet cable because I'm running Ethernet. I like the fastness. And I also have way too many things that are wireless in the house, so Ethernet works for me. And then I also made sure to hook up my camera via USB, which of course is the Logitech C270, link in the description. So here we are in a blank Safari here. DuckDuckGo is my go to web browser because I'm weird and don't want Googling to find me. So what's weird for my setup, this will be different than yours, is I actually have 4 Raspberry Pis down here, and they all have their own Octoprint installation. I don't run one Octopi for all my printers just because they're kind of spread out and running USB cords everywhere gets a little hectic. So each one gets their own. Uh, and this makes it a little bit different for me. I can't just go to octoprint.local. I actually have to go to, now that it's my 4th Pi, I actually have to go to octoprint-3.local. So if you have multiple octopis, here's a little tip for you. Number 1 is going to be octopi.local. Number 2 is going to be octopi-1.local. So it just keeps stacking. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that choice. So we're going to go to octopi-3.local. That should be correct. Hit enter. And here we are. We are setting up our Octoprint installation. So let's go ahead and hit next. And we're going to type in a username and password. So let's do that magical goodness. And that. And make sure it's the same thing. And keep access control enabled. Save password. Next. And this is good. Enable connectivity check. Next. Enable blacklist processing. Next. We will not import any profiles to the current engine. And we're going to make a new printer profile, which this isn't actually like a legit profile, but I need to have a name for this profile. And this printer is actually another Mark III. And I have another printer called Mark III. I don't know what I'm going to call this, but I am reprinting this in gray. So let's call this Graybeard. This will be Graybeard. And this is going to be Mark III. And rectangle, we're going to go 250 by 210 by 210. Lower left, heated bed, axes, don't need to change anything, hot end extruder, that is correct. Hit next, and finish. And here we go. We are at the Octoprint setup. So it isn't connected yet. We just finished installing it. The last step is to connect, and so we're gonna select our baud rate, which is gonna be, let's see here, 115/200, and that's just what it is on the Mark III and the Mark IIs, as well as the Mark 2.5. We're gonna save these connection settings. We're gonna select Auto Connect on Server Startup, which just means anytime Octoprint's on, it will connect, which is a good thing because I want to be connected. So let's hit this connect button. This is the big deal. Will it work? Connect. I can hear it. I can hear my printer doing the thing. Oh, it's connected. So now that it's connected, you can see all of the files on my memory card. You can see the actual temps. And this is the basic Octoprint install. I'm going to do further videos showing some of my favorite plugins and customizations, but this is just getting you running. Ooh, and we have to check. We have to check to make sure the camera works. So you've got these little tabs here. The control will show you the camera, and there it is. You can see that the camera, the Logitech C270 is all hooked up. I do have a wide-angle lens adapter on there, which I've shown in another video, and I've talked about it, but I'll put links for everything. So that'll be in the description as well. And then, of course, you get your G-code viewer and your terminal. So you do things, of course, my favorite thing is to suppress the temperature messages. So you do things like M503, which will just replay all the settings on your printer and how it's all done. Like, oh, yeah, 830 E-steps, look at that. But yeah, you can do things. And then, of course, it has a built-in time-lapse. You can do things like octolapse. So I'll slowly progress and do more things. But for now, we are running. And I don't have any little G-code files. I mean, I can load a G-code in here. So let's create a folder. That was called prints. I'll make this prettier later for myself. I'll click on that. And of course, I've got my documents and my 3D printing and to print. And I actually do have stuff to print. And it's a PETG. And yep, I need this bare extruder. I need to print more of these. So I'll load that in there. And super quick. I mean, that's the nice thing about running the Ethernet. Everything's really fast. And then I'll just hit print. And you can see that the temp graph will move up. And eventually when it gets to 50 degrees Celsius, the fan will kick in, so we know it's all working. Let's see here. Let's actually wait for that. Let's see what happens. The actual. But that's it. I mean, it is actually really simple to do. I mean, there's going to be other tricks and things if you want to use the actual web address and all that stuff. Yep, fan turned on. So we know that's working. Of course, we can control it. We can do things. Of course, it's heating up for print, so I can't really mess with it. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to do. There's other things that I'll talk about. This is just basically how I set it up and get it working. So from here on out, you guys are on your own until the next video series. So stay tuned for more Octoprint tutorials from me.